So far, we have learned that deuterostomes include sea stars and sea urchins and sea cucumbers and sand dollars, right? And that they are deuterostomes, just like we're deuterostomes. But our lineage went in a different direction, and we are of the lineage, the chordata. We are chordates. We have got a notochord. And not only do we have a notochord, we also have a dorsal hollow nerve cord. We have got a post-anal tail as well. Okay, so so far we've talked about the echinoderms. Sorry. Okay, we've talked about the echinoderms, and then we did the lancelets and the tunicates, which are really unexpected. So now we're almost to what are called the vertebrates, but not quite. We've got these two groups of fish-like creatures. You don't have to know the name Myxini and whatever, however you pronounce that, but I do want you to know the, darn it, I do want you to know the hagfish and the lampreys. Now, hagfish and lampreys, when I show you pictures of them, you'll go, oh, they look just alike. Well, they're not exactly, okay? The hagfish, they are chordates, but they do not yet have anything that you would recognize as vertebrae. You wouldn't even imagine them to be vertebrae. They definitely still have their notochord present, and they actually have a brain. As a matter of fact, they even have a skull that is enclosing their brain. So they're kind of a head up on anything that was before. These guys, the lampreys, both the hagfish and the lampreys, they look like eels, and they're often called eels. But the lampreys have got a little bit of an advantage because they've got a skull, and they've got something that's a little bit like vertebrae now, but they don't have a jaw. So these guys get called the craniates, the hagfish, because they've got a skull, right? So let's talk about these fellas. Okay? So we've already talked about the tunicates and the lancelets, and now we're talking about the lampreys, and we're going to throw in the hagfish at the same time. If you ever take a zoology class, you'll learn that they're a little bit different from each other, okay? So, but they kind of look like this. This is a sea lamprey. You can look, it's got eyes. If you did a dissection of him, and he would rather you didn't, but if you did, you would find something made out of cartilage that looks a lot like a skull that's enclosing his little tiny brain. Now, this guy does not have any fins. Notice how he doesn't have any paired side fins. Those are not invented yet, okay? And they also do not have a jaw. So they're considered craniates because they've got a skull. These guys also have backbones, but no jaws. And these guys, the lampreys, they are parasites. They grab onto bigger fish and kind of suck their juices. Right? The hagfish, make sure you look at hagfish. Hagfish look a lot like this, but they don't have anything like vertebrae yet. But they are very, very tasty, I guess, to bigger fish. And so how do they keep themselves from getting eaten? The hagfish, not the lampreys, but the hagfish, they make this slime that's really remarkable. And you can find good videos on hagfish slime. How does slime keep them from getting eaten? Well, they release the slime, and the slime sucks up water, and it glues onto, it clogs up the gills of the fish that's trying to eat them, so it kind of suffocates them. And then the fish that have ever had that experience, it's so unpleasant that they never bother a hagfish ever again. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the vertebrates, and vertebrates got called vertebrates because not only do they have spinal cords and craniums, but they actually have vertebrae, little tiny structures that actually protect the spinal cord. Okay? And the first group of vertebrates that we're going to talk about get called the cartilaginous fish. And this word for cartilaginous fish, I do want you to know, chondrichthyes. Chondra means cartilage, ichthyes means fish. The cartilaginous fish are the sharks, but also things called rays and skates. So there is a manta ray that's got some sort of a parasitic fish on it. So sharks, rays, and skates. Now, they're called the cartilaginous fish because they have got all kinds of things in them that you would say, oh, that's a bone. But technically, they're not bones because they're not made out of really hard stuff. They're still made out of cartilage. All of the bones that you'll find in a regular fish, like let's say a sea bass, right? All of those bones, if you look inside of a shark, you'll find all of those bones, but they're not hard. They're made out of cartilage, cartilaginous fish. Okay. We're going to start at the osteichthyes at the beginning of the next video. The osteichthyes will be all of the bony fish, and there's a little more detail I want to talk to you about.